If you're here, then you're planning a trip to my favorite national park in Utah, and that is Capitol Reef National Park. I am so excited for you to be here, and today I want to walk you through the exact process that you'll need to turn this trip into reality, to make sure that you have all the information you need to plan the perfect trip to Capitol Reef. My name is Ash. I'm a former park ranger and the founder of dirtinmyshoes. I'm also a Utah native, and so you will find me in this park all the time. As I said, it's my favorite in Utah. I love this park, and I think that it's very underrated. I think that people just totally overlook this park, especially if they're hoping to visit all 5 Utah parks. I feel like Capitol Reef is always kind of the afterthought of, oh yeah, maybe we should, put in a day here to visit this one. A lot of people don't know what there is to do here. They don't know what makes it so special. And so I am going to talk you through the process of planning your trip here so that you can really experience this park to the fullest. Why do I love this park so much? It really has all of the elements that make the other Utah parks so cool. And it has them in a small space here where you can get out and you can see arches. You can see those giant monoliths. You can see the slot canyons. You get it all here. And it's a quieter park. It's not as crazy or complex as other Utah parks and other national parks in general. And so you really just kind of get the best of everything. A quieter experience and a beautiful landscape, an area that is full of history and surprise. And you can stay on the beaten path, but it's easy to get off the beaten path and see some other really cool things that a lot of people just don't even realize are here. Okay, so to give you some context of where Capitol Reef National Park is, it's right here, and it's a long and narrow national park that kind of goes this direction. And then you've got canyonlands and arches over in here in this Moab area, and you have Bryce Canyon and Zion down in here. So Capitol Reef really is the connecting park between these two other areas of more popular and famous parks. Really your best bet for flying into this park. So you have the national park right here, so you can see you're just a few hours from Salt Lake City and the airport there, or you're also a few hours from Vegas. So those are the main airports you're probably going to want to fly into. There are some smaller ones along the way. You've got one in St. George, Cedar City, you've got one in Grand Junction, you've even got one in Moab. They're much smaller airports that typically have connecting flights through either Salt Lake or Vegas or Denver. So if you want to just fly into a main airport, I'd go Salt Lake or Vegas. If you're hoping to see all 5 Utah parks, those airports make a lot of sense for doing the whole route around the southern part of Utah. Now, if you're driving to Capitol Reef, which I know a lot of you like to do as you're road tripping through the Utah National Parks, a lot of you will be driving to Capitol Reef via another Utah park. And so if you're going to do that, you're typically going to come in either on Highway 12 here. So you can see Bryce Canyon National Park is right here. And so Highway 12 connects these two parks really well. Highway 12 is amazing. I love this scenic highway. It's definitely worth even a day just to spend along here. You can go to Kodachrome, Calf Creek Falls, Anasazi State Park. There's the Hog's Back. There's so many cool things to do along this highway as you make your way from Bryce Canyon to Capitol Reef or vice versa. The other way you might be coming to Capitol Reef if you're driving is on Highway 24, which is this road out here. And this road takes you past, you've got Goblin Valley State Park over here. You've got, when you go up to Green River and then come over, you'll then cut down to get to the Moab area where you'll find arches up here or canyonlands right there. So this, again, a very scenic drive. Hanksville has a lot of UTVing and ATVing and stuff like that. If you want to do that kind of in this Capitol Reef area, Goblin Valley State Park, all the cool stuff as you make your way over to Moab. Now, looking at a map of Capitol Reef, let me zoom this out a little bit for you. So you can see Capitol Reef is very narrow and long. It's a pretty funky shaped national park. And so here you've got the Highway 12 coming into Torrey. And then as you cut across on Highway 24, you're really just seeing a very tiny portion of the park at this point because there's a lot more up here and a lot more down here. But this is the main paved road through the park. So then coming out on Highway 24, again, this is the road that will take you out to Hanksville and then up to Goblin Valley and eventually over to Moab to see Arches and Canyonlands. So you can see how Capitol Reef is kind of just right smack dab in the middle of the Utah parks, which is why a lot of people will say, oh, we're going that way anyway, so I guess we can just drive through and maybe we'll stop for a few hours and then head on to the next. But I really recommend giving yourself a little bit of time to spend in this particular area of Utah. You're in central Utah. It's a quieter area of Utah. Not a lot of people come here. And so you will just feel like that breath of solitude as you're exploring around in here. And you can take your time. You can see some really cool stuff and then head on to your next destination. We'll talk in a minute about how many days I recommend staying in this park. I definitely would recommend more time than you probably have thought that you would give it. So just heads up on that. I really, really want you to stay in this area for a minute and explore around. Okay, so now that you know kind of the location of this and the best ways to get here, let's talk about the best season or the best time of year to plan your visit to Capitol Reef. Capitol Reef is a little bit tricky for planning the perfect time to be in this area. A lot of people, when they plan their trip through the Utah parks, they think, okay, these parks are fairly warm. You've got Arches and Canyonlands in Zion that stay fairly warm year round. They will get some snow kind of in the deep winter months, but for the most part, you can kind of come here and do a lot of stuff anyway. Capitol Reef is definitely one of the colder parks. It is a park that does stay open year-round technically. The visitor center is open year-round. The campground is open year-round. The roads pretty much stay open year-round. So there's not any hard closures that hit Capitol Reef at really any time of year. I will say, though, I have made this mistake early in my visiting days of Capitol Reef where I was like, spring can be a really great time to go to Zion or Arches. Let's throw Capitol Reef in there. And then I get to Capitol Reef and it's still really cold. Things are open, but I went camping once in March and it was just the coldest experience of my life. I was not expecting it to be that cold because I was thinking it would be more like some of the other Utah parks that stay warmer that time of year. So that's just something to note. You can technically visit this park year round, but I personally really like to hit it kind of the tail end of spring into early summer. A lot of times I will avoid the Utah parks during the main hot season of summer. That's just not very fun for me to be out hiking in that. And so I'll skip, July, August, kind of that time frame, and then start coming back to the Utah parks starting in September and into October. In Capitol Reef, you can kind of get away with going into November, but again, it will start getting really chilly at night. You will be out hiking and camping in some maybe colder temperatures than you were anticipating. This is not a park that I would say I really love in the winter. A lot of things close down in the surrounding area, even though you can still get into the park. The Gifford House is closed during the winter, which is where you get the famous Capitol Reef pies, which is a very important part of my trips to Capitol Reef. So I don't love this park during the winter. I am okay on the shoulder seasons, but again, I'm kind of trying to get it as close to summertime as I can without being in the actual heat of summer and the monsoon season of summer with those flash floods. So that's personal preference. A lot of people go here during all the months of the summer. But again, I like the May, June timeframe and September, October for this park. Now, when you decide to go to Capitol Reef, I have a fully planned out hour by hour Capitol Reef itinerary that shows you exactly where I would be and when. I will keep you informed on what you need to know and how to change your schedule based on what's happening in the park. I'll link the itinerary in the video description below, but this is it. You can come in here, you can get all the information that you need from me regarding crowding, when to be where, what to do, all the great activities, where to stay, all of that I will help you navigate with this Capitol Reef itinerary. The truth is, in any national park, you're going to hit unexpected closures and things like that, just sometimes weather related, sometimes construction. A lot of times the main season that you're hoping to visit these parks is the main construction season. I just want to encourage you as you're planning your trip to make sure you're checking the official NPS website for Capitol Reef. Click on that alerts tab, make sure you know what's going on in the park. And again, I will help you with all that if you have the Capitol Reef itinerary. You won't have to do that on your own. But with these national parks, it's really important to make sure you're checking that because things can change at any time. Okay, so we've talked about how to get to Capitol Reef. We have talked about the best time to be in Capitol Reef. We've talked about the updates that you'll need to pay attention to. Now let's talk about where to stay when you come to Capitol Reef. Okay, so as I mentioned before, you've got this one main road that goes through Capitol Reef National Park. Gives you a little taste of what's in this park, but this is the main paved area of Capitol Reef right in here. So when you're trying to decide on somewhere to stay, if you're a first-time visitor, for sure you're going to want to keep yourself in this area-ish. What you have available to you as far as hotels, there is no hotel in Capitol Reef National Park. So if you're wanting to stay in a hotel, you're going to need to go into a gateway town. My first choice for gateway town is Torrey right here. Torrey has a lot of hotel options and Airbnb options, things like that. There are plenty of places to stay in Torrey. And from there, you're only, it's 5-10 minutes to the visitor center, 5 minutes to the boundary of the park. I mean, you're just right there. So it's perfectly situated for getting into Capitol Reef and really seeing the main things that you're going to want to do in the park. Your other gateway town that is another fairly decent option is going to be Hanksville out here. There's hardly anything here. You might be able to find something in Caneville, but most likely if you're wanting to be on this side, you're going to want to look in Hanksville. Hanksville doesn't have as many options as Torrey. It's also further from most of the things you're going to want to do in the park. So it's okay to stay out here. It's not going to throw anything off. You're not going to be really sad that you stayed out here by any means. But when you're making this decision, Torrey really is the best, most central location for seeing Capitol Reef. Coming out further from Torrey, further west, you'll get to Bicknell and Loa, things like that, some smaller towns. You can see a few smaller towns down in here. I don't really recommend being any further out. Why not just stay in Torrey and cut down on your drive time, a lot. So it just makes more sense to me to stay in Torrey. That's what I recommend. Now, if you're hoping to camp, so Capitol Reef does have one campground. It's here in Fruita in this main visitor space. It's called the Fruita Campground. It stays open year round. It's a beautiful campground. It's actually really, really nice. Lots of green grass, lots of big trees. You're right in the historic district of Capitol Reef. You can walk to some of the most popular hiking trails and things to do right here from the campground. So that's pretty cool. This campground is one of my favorites actually in the national park system. It's absolutely beautiful. And so you can make a reservation here and you can stay here if you want to be right in the middle of everything. Capitol Reef does have a few other campgrounds that are primitive campgrounds. They have no facilities or anything like that. One of those is going to be down south here along this Notum Bullfrog Road, and you'll see it here, Cedar Mesa. So this one is for especially people who want to drive the Burr Trail and loop the fold, which we'll talk about here in a minute, but it's right along that. But again, it is along a dirt road with no amenities. And then your other one that's a primitive campground is up here in Cathedral Valley. Again, another place we'll talk about here in a minute, but that is accessed by a high clearance dirt road as well. So again, nothing out here, it's very primitive camping, and it's not near, it takes hours to get from here back down to the main part of Capitol Reef. So those primitive campgrounds are really fun options if this is like a second or third time visit. You've already done all the main stuff. You want to get back in here. Or if you have more time in Capitol Reef, like if you can give yourself 3 to 4 days and you want to experience something different, those primitive campgrounds would make sense in that case. But otherwise, if you're a first-time visitor, you're coming for a day or two, and you're wanting to stay in the main developed area of the park, you're going to want to go for the Fruita campground. One other thing though I want to mention, so there is actually quite a bit of boondocking out in this area. So you will find some great boondocking spots if you're camping along the highway right here before you hit the Capitol Reef boundary. You will also find some great ones out here as you're heading to Caneville. There's a bunch of boondocking back in here as well before you hit that park boundary. So other good options are available for camping than just the Fruita campground. So definitely look into that if you're okay with boondocking. And then of course, these towns right outside of the park do have more traditional RV parks that you can stay in as well. Okay, so next is to decide how many days you think you'll need to see the things you want to see when you're visiting Capitol Reef. For most people, again, a lot of people kind of just use this as a drive-through park. They'll stop for a couple of hours and then move on. If you're really wanting to see Capitol Reef, but you don't have a lot of time, 1 full day is pretty good. You can get to a lot of stuff in 1 full day. And with my itinerary on Dirt in My Shoes, I will help you make the most of that full day if you want some help from me. If you can give yourself a second day, there are some other really cool things still kind of in that main visitor area that you can do in 2 days, but some things that you can add to get off the beaten path a little bit more, to kind of get out of that main crunch of crowds, kind of get away from that and get into some of the other areas that a lot of people don't see or don't know about. Now, this is the part where people kind of shake their heads like, am I crazy to tell you that I personally like to spend at least 3 full days in this park when I'm visiting? So if you have the time, if this is something that you can devote to Capitol Reef, then 3 full days really is the sweet spot. That's because it takes 1 to 2 days to get through the main park area, where the paved roads are, where the main trails are, where the visitor center, all of that is. And so you give yourself 1 to 2 days to do that. And then if you can add that 3rd day, this is when you really have the chance to go on a grand adventure through Capitol Reef and get you into some of the areas that are harder to get to, require you to rent a Jeep or have a high clearance vehicle. And that for me really is where the magic of Capitol Reef is when you're able to get off of the paved roads and into the wilderness and really experience just the beauty and the solitude that you'll find back in these areas. Okay, so 1, 2, or 3 days if you can. Again, don't feel bad though if you can only give it 1 day. We can make sure you get to the best stuff. But it will make it easier to decide how many days you want to give to this park if we talk about some of the things that you can do here. So let's chat about all the activities and things to do in Capitol Reef that you'll want to add in as a first-time visitor. Back to the map. So this is the main paved road through Capitol Reef, and this area right here is the Fruita Historic District, and this really is the heart of Capitol Reef, and so you'll spend a good amount of time here. This is Fruita District closer up, and so you'll see as you come into this area, you've got the visitor center, you've got the Gifford House, which has the famous Capitol Reef pies. The cool thing about Capitol Reef is the history of this area is really fascinating, but basically the Mormon pioneers settled this area. They planted a whole bunch of different orchards, and so now when you go to Fruita, you'll see these orchards in this area. It's an oasis. It's absolutely gorgeous. And in fact, during the summer and fall, you can come into these orchards and you can pick fruit. They have apples and cherries and apricots and all sorts of stuff that you can pick out of these orchards. So that's why the Gifford House sells fruit pies that are made locally as kind of a nod to that history and to the orchards in this area. So while you're here, the main things to do really beyond just eating pie, which is what I like to do, is come over here. Hickman Bridge is a really popular hike. It's absolutely beautiful. Again, you're getting the arch views of arches here in Capitol Reef. So that's a really great hike to an arch. And then you have some other fun little historic stops like the schoolhouse and the petroglyphs and everything like that here. Now from here, you also have the start of the scenic drive. And coming down into the main part of the map, this is the scenic drive here. And so as you take this scenic drive, you're going to hit the Grand Wash area, which is a cool slot canyon. You've got Cassidy Arch, which is another really cool hike to an arch in this area, named after Butch Cassidy, who is rumored to have used this area as a hideout. This arch you can actually stand on the top of, which is really cool. And continuing down the scenic drive, then you will get to the Capitol Gorge area. There's some hiking trails back here, but also just the drive off the scenic drive through Capitol Gorge is spectacular. It's one of the coolest experiences. You're basically driving through a slot canyon. A few other things to note that you can do along these paved roads here. You've got these 3 activities here: Panorama Point, Sunset Point, Goosenecks. These are either short overlooks or short hikes that you can do out in this area. You've also got Chimney Rock, which is a really nice hike. And then out in this area, there's actually not that much to do. So you really are just kind of centered on this area here as a first-time visitor that wants to stay on mostly paved roads. In my itinerary, I add a few more activities that I have not mentioned in this video that are in this Fruita Historic District that I do think are worth the time. And so I will map it all out for you, give your driving directions, and tell you when to be where to make it through all of these main activities and more. If you are adventurous and you are looking for something just really unique and fun to do, there are 2 dirt roads that I recommend driving. Each one takes about a full day to do. And so if you only have one extra day and you need to choose between the 2, I personally would start with Cathedral Valley. Cathedral Valley is up here north of Fruita. It's this area up in here. And so you're actually going to access that via either the Hartnett Road or the Cathedral Road out here outside of the park. These are 4-wheel drive high clearance roads, so you will need to either rent a Jeep or have a vehicle that you can use to get back in here. But it's a full day adventure driving this loop in through here. You'll see just beautiful cathedral monoliths that are just jutting out of the desert here. You've got a sinkhole, you've got a cabin, you've got just beautiful overlooks. And then when you get over in here, you'll have the Temple of the Sun and the Temple of the Moon, which are some of the most beautiful monoliths that you ever will see. It will take your breath away. It's absolutely stunning. So as you're approaching this area from either direction, you'll go through the Bentonite Hills, which are really cool, colorful hill formations that you'll drive right on through. And so there's just a lot of variety and a lot of variation to what you'll see as you make your way through Cathedral Valley. The other main area, the other main road that you might want to add in if you have an extra day and want to go on an adventure is the Burr Trail, or what's also sometimes called the Loop the Fold route. So here we have Fruita here. We're going to go far south into Capitol Reef down in here along the main spine of the Water Pocket Fold, which is a really cool geologic anomaly in this area and the reason that Capitol Reef is a national park. Basically, you're coming south on Highway 12 and then you're going to cut over here to get on the Burr Trail, and along this way you will see some beautiful views. There's some slot canyons in here you can walk into, which are really cool, and then you'll hit that park boundary and you'll get into what is the water pocket fold area. So we really like driving through here. If you have high clearance, you can get back into Strike Valley Overlook, which is really beautiful. I love the view from here. And then driving down these bird trail switchbacks is absolutely epic. It feels like you are just like twisted and turned on your side as you're driving down this. You're driving down the water pocket fold, which is really cool. And then you get down in here, and actually this area of Capitol Reef right down here is full of slot canyons. And so if you want to do a really cool slot canyon hike like Halls Creek or Muley Twist or anything like down in here, this is how you would access those slot canyons. And then from there, we're just driving back north on this road here, back up to the main highway to complete our loop. It's crazy how few paved roads this park actually has. So even if you're in the main visitor area, as you're driving down Capitol Gorge or something like that, you will be on a dirt road. And then again, to go up into Cathedral Valley or to do the bird trail, you'll want some higher clearance, better vehicles for getting back in there. But holy cow, what a cool experience it is to see those views and to explore that area in person. Okay, so that's the main meat of what you'll need to know to plan your trip to Capitol Reef. It's a lot of information. I just have a few more things, a few more notes, tips that you'll want to be aware of as you're going to Capitol Reef. I already mentioned that there are very few paved roads in this park. There also are just not very many amenities. So you'll want to bring in what you need. Bring in food. There's not any restaurants except for the pies at the Gifford House. There isn't water at a lot of the trailheads and things like that. So you'll want to make sure that you always have water in your vehicle with you so that if you do decide to get out and go hiking, you'll have what you need. There are pit toilets around the park. There's not a lot of flush toilets, so keep that in mind. You'll want to pay attention to that as you're going through the park as well. Now, a lot of people, as I've mentioned, do kind of just fly through this park, but that doesn't mean that there is not crowding and that there are not problems finding parking and getting back in there. What you have at Capitol Reef is just a very small park, and so there's small parking areas. There's, kind of everybody sticks to that main area and moves through the main area in a fairly uniform way. And so if you want to get ahead of those crowds, or if you want to be able to get parking at some of these trailheads, you are going to need to be smart about it. Because even though it doesn't get super busy, it will feel really busy because there's just not a lot of parking and there aren't a lot of places to go. Something else you want to keep in mind is whenever I visit this national park, I always pack layers because the weather can be very volatile in this area. It will get much colder at night than maybe you're used to. It will get really hot in the day. There's not a lot of shade unless you're in that Fruita Historic District there, but when you're out hiking, you're going to be in more of a harsh desert landscape. So just make sure you bring items that you will need for any type of weather. This park does see quite large summer monsoon storms, and so you'll want to bring a rain jacket. You'll want to have good hiking footwear. You'll want to have pants and shorts and sweaters and short sleeves. So just make sure you're packing for all different types of weather when you visit this park. If you want more information about anything I didn't cover today, go over to dirtinmyshoes.com. I will link this page in the video description, but I have a bunch of information for Capitol Reef, more tips, more activity information, how to do a full Utah National Parks road trip, Cathedral Valley. I have a whole step-by-step guide for that. And so you'll find a lot of information here on Dirt in My Shoes. Don't forget to pick up your Capitol Reef itinerary if you want my specific help navigating this park, getting those parking spaces, getting to some of the really cool spots that people don't know about. Go get that itinerary. It's linked in the video description below. And more videos for Capitol Reef are coming, and so be sure to subscribe if this is helpful, and I will walk you through the ins and outs of visiting Capitol Reef here on my YouTube channel. I hope that you have a fantastic time in this park. I'm so excited for you to visit my favorite Utah National Park. Happy trails.